We live in a world obsessed with goals. From the time we are children, we are told to set them, chase them, write them down, and even visualize them. A goal is presented as the golden ticket, the key to unlocking success. But there is a hidden truth that very few people recognize. Goals, by themselves, don't create progress. They give you a destination, yes, but they do not provide the map, the road, or the fuel to get there. You can set the most inspiring goal in the world, but if you don't have a system to carry you forward, that goal becomes nothing more than a poster on the wall, collecting dust while your life moves on. Think about it. Everyone wants to be fit, to be wealthy, to have meaningful relationships, to find fulfillment in their work. These are all goals, and yet not everyone achieves them. It's not because the goals are impossible, it's because the system to get there never existed. You can write down, run a marathon as your goal, but without a system of running 3 times a week, gradually increasing your distance, resting properly, and following a training plan, the marathon will remain a fantasy. A goal without a system is like a car without an engine. It looks powerful, it looks like it could take you anywhere, but the truth is it's not moving. The problem with goals is that they live in the future. They are always one step away, always something you are striving for but haven't yet achieved. That creates a gap, a psychological tension that often leaves people feeling unfulfilled because the focus is constantly on what you don't have yet. Systems, on the other hand, live in the present. They anchor you in the daily actions that actually move you forward. If the goal is to write a book, the system is writing 500 words every day. If the goal is to build a business, the system is making calls, building relationships, and solving problems consistently. The power of systems is that they shift your attention from a distant finish line to what you can control right now. And this is where real progress happens. Because when you focus only on the goal, you measure success by one thing: did I achieve it or not? That is a dangerous way to live because it sets you up for failure most of the time. But when you focus on a system, every day becomes a small win. Every repetition, every action, every consistent effort is progress. You are no longer waiting for success to arrive one day in the future. You are living it right now in the form of your habits and routines. Progress becomes part of your identity. This is why 2 people can set the exact same goal and end up with completely different results. The difference isn't the dream they had, it's the system they built. The one who fails often blames the goal, saying it was too ambitious, unrealistic, or unattainable. But the truth is, it was never about the size of the goal. It was about whether a sustainable system was in place to make progress possible. Success doesn't belong to those who dream the biggest, but to those who build systems that move them forward day by day. And there is another subtle but profound truth. Goals create pressure. They whisper in your ear, reminding you of what you haven't achieved yet. They create anxiety when you fall behind and guilt when you miss the mark. Systems don't do that. Systems offer freedom. They give you a framework you can rely on even when motivation is low. They give you structure, and that structure creates peace. Because the moment you wake up and follow your system, you already know you are making progress, regardless of how far away the finish line is. A system transforms achievement from something that happens occasionally into something that happens daily. It transforms success from a distant dream into a present reality. And once you internalize this, you will stop being obsessed with where you want to go and instead fall in love with the process that will get you there. Because progress is not about arriving at the destination, it's about becoming the kind of person who keeps moving forward. When most people think about achieving their goals, they imagine a grand moment of effort, a burst of intensity, a single massive push that will take them from where they are to where they want to be. They picture the dramatic transformation, the overnight success, the sudden breakthrough. And because of this belief, they overestimate what can be done in a short time and underestimate the power of small, repeated actions over the long term. But life doesn't work in big leaps, it works in compounding steps. Success is not built in explosions of intensity. It is built in the quiet rhythm of consistency. Consider how we learn anything of value. A child doesn't learn to speak in one day. They repeat sounds again and again until words form. A musician doesn't master an instrument after a single 8-hour practice session. They return to the keys, the strings, the notes day after day until the music becomes second nature. The same is true in every aspect of life. Consistency is what transforms effort into mastery. Intensity is exciting, but consistency is sustaining. The trap of intensity is that it feels good in the moment. You can push yourself hard for a few days, for a week, maybe even a month. You might even see quick results, and that gives you a rush of motivation. But intensity has a limit. You burn out. You run out of energy, out of willpower, out of time. And when that happens, the progress you made slips away because it was never built on a sustainable foundation. Consistency, on the other hand, doesn't ask for dramatic sacrifice. It doesn't demand you to burn everything at once. It asks for something far more simple, yet far more powerful. Show up every day and do the work, no matter how small. It is like the difference between pouring a bucket of water on a seed once and hoping it grows versus watering it gently every single day. The bucket looks impressive, but it doesn't create life. The daily watering does. The seed doesn't respond to the size of your effort, it responds to the regularity of your care. Your goals are no different. They don't require you to push yourself to the edge once. They require you to return consistently again and again with patience and discipline. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. One small action, repeated daily, builds into something extraordinary over time. 5 push-ups done every day may not seem like much, but do them every day for a year and you will see your strength transform. Reading 10 pages of a book may feel insignificant, but read 10 pages every day and you will complete a dozen books in a year. The magic is not in the size of the action, it's in the repetition. Consistency multiplies effort. It turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results. But consistency requires humility. It requires accepting that progress will often feel slow, even invisible. It requires resisting the temptation of shortcuts, the lure of intensity that promises faster results, but rarely delivers. It requires trusting the process even when you don't see immediate change. And this is where most people give up. They quit not because the system doesn't work, but because it feels too small, too boring, too repetitive. Yet what they fail to realize is that greatness is built on boredom. Champions are not created by doing something spectacular once. They are created by doing the same simple thing thousands of times until it becomes who they are. Intensity is about moments. Consistency is about identity. When you act with intensity, you do something hard once. When you act with consistency, you become the kind of person who shows up. That shift is everything. Because once an action becomes part of who you are, you no longer need to fight to keep it alive. It sustains itself. You don't run once, you become a runner. You don't write once, you become a writer. You don't lead once, you become a leader. And this is the secret. Consistency doesn't just help you achieve your goals. It changes you in the process. It rewires how you see yourself and what you believe you are capable of. It builds trust with yourself because every time you show up, you prove that you can. And when you can trust yourself to show up, there is no limit to what you can build. Most people approach life as though success is a checklist. They write down their goals, they visualize the end result. They set deadlines and tell themselves that once they achieve these things, they will finally be the person they always wanted to be. The problem is, goals can only offer an illusion of change. They make you believe that identity will come after achievement. Once I hit this number on the scale, I will be healthy. Once I earn this income, I will be successful. Once I finish this project, I will be disciplined. It is a mirage because the finish line keeps moving. The moment you achieve one goal, another takes its place and you are left in an endless chase, always waiting to become, never truly being. Systems, however, work differently. Systems are not about what you want to achieve, they are about who you are becoming along the way. When you commit to a system, you are no longer postponing your identity until after the result arrives. You are living it in the present moment. If your system is running 3 days a week, then from day one you are a runner. If your system is writing 500 words every morning, then from the very first week you are a writer. The identity doesn't wait for the final outcome. It emerges from the process itself. This distinction is powerful because identity is what truly drives behavior. You can chase a goal with willpower for a while, but willpower fades. When the only thing pushing you forward is the desire to check off a box, you will eventually find an excuse to stop. But when your actions are connected to who you believe you are, they become natural. A person who identifies as healthy doesn't need to force themselves to choose the salad, they simply do because it matches who they are. A person who identifies as disciplined doesn't debate whether to follow their routine, it's automatic. Systems shape identity, and identity sustains behavior far longer than motivation ever can. And there's another danger in the illusion of goals. Goals often trick you into thinking you are in control of things you cannot control. You can't always control whether you lose 10 pounds by the end of the month. You can't always control if your business makes a certain amount of revenue this quarter. You can't always control whether you get the promotion, or win the award, or beat the competition. These outcomes depend on countless variables outside your influence. But systems keep you grounded in what you can control. You can control whether you go to the gym 3 times a week. You can control whether you reach out to 5 new clients every day. You can control whether you sit down to write, whether you practice, whether you show up. Systems give you ownership of the process, and in owning the process, you shape your future. What's even more profound is how systems slowly but surely rewire your self-perception. At first, the actions may feel forced. You might say, I'm trying to be more disciplined. I'm trying to be healthier. I'm trying to be consistent. But after weeks and months of following your system, something shifts. You no longer say, I'm trying. You simply are. The repetition becomes proof. The proof becomes identity. And that identity fuels the next level of growth. Think of the difference this way. Goals are like costumes. You put them on for a moment, they look impressive, but they are temporary. Systems are like skin. They are who you are, inseparable from you, always growing, always renewing. The illusion of goals is that you can become someone new once you cross a finish line. The reality of systems is that you already become someone new every day you commit to the process. This is why people who chase only goals often feel empty even when they succeed. They achieve the outcome, but they never change their identity. They reach the finish line, but they are still the same person who started. Nothing internal has shifted, so the achievement feels hollow, temporary, fleeting. But when you build systems, the victory is deeper. You are no longer the same. The system has reshaped you, and that transformation is permanent. One of the biggest traps people fall into when pursuing their dreams is becoming fixated on the outcome. They measure their entire sense of worth and progress by whether or not they've reached a specific milestone. They tell themselves, I'll be successful when I earn this amount of money, or I'll finally be happy when I lose this much weight, or I'll feel fulfilled once I hit this goal. And when the outcome takes longer than expected, or when setbacks appear, frustration takes over, the joy disappears. Doubt creeps in. Many people give up altogether, not because the path wasn't working, but because they were so obsessed with the finish line that they forgot to pay attention to the steps in front of them. This is the danger of attaching yourself to outcomes. You give away your control. Outcomes live in the future, and the future is unpredictable. You cannot dictate exactly when you will arrive. Life has too many moving parts. Circumstances change, markets shift, setbacks arise. If your happiness and sense of progress depend entirely on outcomes, then your emotional state is at the mercy of things you cannot control. That's why so many people live in cycles of excitement followed by disappointment, of motivation followed by collapse. Habits, on the other hand, are within your control. They belong to the present moment. When you attach yourself to habits, you shift your focus from what you hope will happen someday to what you can do today. Instead of saying, I'll be successful once I land this big client, you say, I'm successful every day that I make 5 calls. Instead of saying, I'll be healthy once I lose 20 pounds, you say, I'm healthy every day that I eat clean meals and move my body. The power of this shift is extraordinary because it moves your sense of progress out of the uncertain future and anchors it in the actions of the present. And here is the truth: outcomes are simply the byproducts of habits. The body you want, the career you want, the relationships you want, these are all results of small, repeated actions over time. You don't achieve success by staring at the finish line. You achieve success by running the daily laps. You don't win a championship by thinking about the trophy. You win it by showing up to practice every day, regardless of how you feel. The more you attach your identity and satisfaction to habits, the less pressure you feel from the outcome. And paradoxically, the less pressure you feel, the more likely the outcome is to arrive. There is another freedom that comes from detaching from outcomes. When you are focused only on the result, every setback feels like failure. If the scale doesn't move, if the business deal doesn't close, if the project doesn't finish on time, you feel crushed. But when you are committed to habits, setbacks are simply feedback. You don't lose confidence because your progress was never tied to perfection. You adjust, you adapt, and you continue. Habits make you resilient because they give you something stable to fall back on, no matter what happens externally. The most successful people are rarely the ones who obsess about the grand vision every single day. They are the ones who build rituals, routines, and disciplines that carry them forward regardless of mood or circumstance. They don't wake up and ask, will I succeed today? They wake up and follow their habits, and those habits eventually create success as a natural consequence. It's not magic, it's alignment. The system aligns with the outcome, so the outcome becomes inevitable. The paradox is simple. The harder you cling to outcomes, the more elusive they feel. But the more you anchor yourself in habits, the more the outcomes take care of themselves. Instead of asking, when will I arrive? You start asking, what step can I take today? And that shift is where true achievement is born. Motivation is one of the most overrated concepts in the pursuit of success. People cling to it, they wait for it, they chase it as if it were the fuel that will finally help them achieve their dreams. They listen to motivational speeches, they watch inspiring videos, they pin quotes on their walls, all in the hope that motivation will ignite the fire they need. And while motivation can indeed spark something inside us, that spark rarely lasts. It's like striking a match. For a moment, the flame is bright and powerful, but without kindling, without fuel, it dies as quickly as it appeared. If you build your life on motivation, you are building on quicksand. Systems are different. Systems don't rely on how you feel on any given day. They don't care whether you're motivated, tired, excited, or discouraged. Systems provide structure. They create a framework that you can step into no matter your mood. That structure is what builds resilience because it keeps you moving forward even when your emotions try to pull you back. Think about the mornings you wake up and don't feel like doing anything. If your life depends on motivation, you will lose the battle before it begins. You'll tell yourself, I'll try again tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week, and soon the habit dies. But if your life depends on a system, you don't have to negotiate with yourself. You already know what you're going to do because the system is in place. You don't waste energy deciding whether or not to act. You simply follow the process you've designed. This is the essence of resilience, not in pushing yourself to the limit once in a while, but in having a framework that allows you to keep moving forward regardless of how you feel. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It's about being able to bend without snapping. It's about having the capacity to absorb setbacks and still return to the path. Motivation doesn't give you that. Motivation often vanishes the moment things get difficult. But systems protect you in those moments. They are like guardrails on a mountain road, keeping you from veering off when the terrain gets rough. You might slow down, you might stumble, but the system ensures you don't quit. When people talk about resilience, they often imagine some inner toughness, an almost heroic force of will. But the truth is, resilience is far more practical. It is the discipline of showing up when it's inconvenient. It is the habit of doing the work even when you don't feel like it. It is the ability to trust the system more than your emotions. And this is why those who rely solely on motivation burn out, while those who rely on systems endure. The system doesn't care whether you're inspired, it carries you through regardless. There is also a deeper layer to this. Motivation is often tied to external circumstances. It rises when things go well and falls when things go wrong. But systems are internal. They are independent of what happens around you. You can face rejection, failure, setbacks, or even outright defeat and still return to your system the next day. That return is resilience. That return is what separates those who eventually succeed from those who give up. This is why the most accomplished people often seem unshakable. It's not that they never doubt themselves or never feel discouraged. They do. The difference is that they don't let those emotions decide their actions. Their system decides. And when you let your system dictate your actions, your emotions no longer hold you hostage. You don't need to feel like it in order to do it. You simply do it. And in doing it, you grow stronger. And over time, that repeated return, showing up again and again, even when it's hard, builds a kind of resilience that motivation alone could never provide. Because resilience isn't about the days when you're excited. It's about the days when you're not, and you show up anyway. It's about proving to yourself that you can keep going, even when everything in you wants to stop. That proof becomes strength, and that strength carries you further than motivation ever could. We are taught to think of success as a place we arrive at, a finish line we cross, a moment of triumph when the world finally recognizes our efforts. It's the day we buy the house, win the award, land the promotion, or achieve the dream we've been chasing. And for a brief moment, it feels like victory. But here's what often happens after the celebration fades: a quiet emptiness creeps in. You begin to ask, what's next? The finish line you thought would bring lasting fulfillment suddenly feels like just another step, and you realize the chase never ends. This is because true success is not a single moment. It is not a trophy, a bank balance, or a milestone on a timeline. Those things are markers, yes, but they are not the essence of achievement. Success is not a destination. It is a lifestyle. It is the way you live every day. It is found not in what you accomplish once, but in who you consistently become through the systems you build and the habits you sustain. Think of someone who achieves their goal of losing weight. For a while, they feel accomplished. They did it. They hit the number. But what happens if they stop living the lifestyle that got them there? The weight returns. The success fades. Why? Because the victory was treated as an endpoint rather than a way of life. On the other hand, someone who builds a lifestyle around health, daily movement, balanced meals, restful sleep, doesn't just reach the goal once. They embody it. They live it every single day. Their success isn't something they achieve and then lose. It is woven into their way of being. This is the heart of the difference between goals and systems. Goals ask you to cross a finish line. Systems invite you to build a path you can walk for the rest of your life. And when you adopt systems as a way of life, success stops being about reaching a place you've never been. It becomes about sustaining and deepening what you already are. The danger of thinking of success as a destination is that it tricks you into believing happiness lives only in the future. You postpone joy until after the exam is passed, until after the business takes off, until after the dream is realized. But once you get there, you often discover that joy doesn't automatically appear. It was never waiting at the finish line. It was always hidden in the daily journey. The early mornings, the small steps, the consistent habits that shaped who you became along the way. Success as a lifestyle means you stop waiting for happiness to arrive someday and begin to find it in the process itself. And here is what makes this so powerful. When you live success as a lifestyle, you are never truly finished. There is no expiration date on growth. You don't retire from discipline. You don't graduate from curiosity. You don't outgrow consistency. You simply keep evolving. Each day is another opportunity to embody the systems you've built, and each day those systems shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. This is why the people who seem most fulfilled are not those who hit one massive goal, but those who continually refine their systems and expand their capacity. For them, success is not an event, it is a rhythm, a pattern, a way of moving through life. Even failure looks different when success is a lifestyle. If success is only a destination, then failure feels final, as if missing the mark means the journey is over. But when success is a lifestyle, failure is simply part of the process. It's a lesson, a teacher, an adjustment point along the way. You don't quit because you failed once, just as you don't stop walking because you stumbled. You keep going because the system keeps you moving, and in that movement you continue to live out your version of success. When success is no longer something you chase, but something you practice, it becomes sustainable. It no longer burns you out. It no longer depends on a moment of recognition or external validation. It flows naturally from the way you live day by day, step by step. The goal is no longer to arrive somewhere new, but to continuously grow into the person your systems are shaping you to be. At the end of it all, what truly matters is not the size of your goals, but the strength of your systems. Because goals may inspire you, but systems transform you. Goals give you a vision, but systems give you progress. Goals will tell you where you want to go. Systems will keep you walking even when the road feels endless. If you want to live a life of fulfillment, stop chasing finish lines that vanish the moment you cross them. Instead, build systems that carry you forward day after day, moment after moment. Build systems that shape your identity, that keep you grounded when motivation fades, that remind you of who you are becoming, not just what you are achieving. You don't need to wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect plan, or the perfect feeling. You need only to commit to a system, to take the small steps consistently, to keep showing up when it's hard, to trust the process even when results don't yet show. Because in the end, success will